Welcome to Breaking Down Mental Health with Dr. Jones. In these educational videos, Dr. Jones will discuss mental health diagnosis, clinical supervision, using technology in counseling, multiculturalism, and many other topics to help you get a healthy understanding of why mental health is important. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you enjoy these videos.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking the big philosophical arguments about ethics and AI,
right,
and we're dragging them straight into, well, probably the most private space in clinical practice, the counseling room. Our mission is a deep dive into Module 2 of the AI Care Ethics Certificate for Counseling. And this is really designed for counselors, for educators, people who are past the theory and are now facing real choices.
That's a crucial distinction. It really is. In Module 1, the foundation was laid, the 5 core principles of care ethics.
Attentiveness, responsibility, competence.
Exactly. Responsiveness and trust. But look, defining them, that's the easy part.
Right.
Module 2 is all about turning those concepts into a working diagnostic tool.
Yeah.
We're moving from what is right to what do I do right now?
And the vehicle they use to do this is just brilliant. It's this incredibly detailed case study called Notes of Care.
It's so well done.
It's not theoretical at all. It models a really realistic ethical journey. We follow a licensed associate counselor, Maya Rodriguez, as she navigates these 4 escalating decision points with an AI documentation system, Therapy Scribe.
And with her bilingual client, Jordan.
Yes, exactly.
And I think the real power of the case study is its cultural grounding. It just completely avoids simple black and white choices.
It has to.
It has to. For counselors, it shows that technology isn't just about privacy challenges. It directly challenges our cultural competence, our professional autonomy, in a way that just demands immediate ethical reasoning.
Okay, so let's unpack this framework first.
Yeah.
Before Maya makes any decisions, we need to understand how these 5 principles actually become active, practical questions.
Yes, this is the lens. This is the internal monologue of an ethically grounded practitioner.
So we start with attentiveness in practice. The core question is pretty simple. What do I notice about how AI affects care?
Simple to ask, hard to do. It's so hard. It demands that your primary focus stays on the client, not the tech. You have to ask, has this recording device changed the flow? Am I missing subtle cues because I know this AI is listening? Attentiveness is like the prerequisite for everything else.
And if you are attentive, you immediately crash into the problem of responsibility in practice.
Would you ask?
Who is accountable for decisions made with AI involvement? And the sources are so clear on this. AI systems, by their very nature, they diffuse accountability.
How so?
Well, the machine generates a summary or a recommendation, maybe a risk flag, and it's so easy just unconsciously deferred to that seemingly objective input.
But I want to push back on the comfort of that, because if the AI makes a mistake, the ethical failure, it doesn't land on the algorithm, it lands on the counselor.
It lands squarely on the counselor. And this intersects directly with the mandates that govern your professional judgment. The tension is maintaining that judgment even when the AI is screaming efficiency at you.
So what are the standards here? This is where you see the need for standards like NBCC Directive 8, which affirms the counselor's sole responsibility for all clinical decisions, and Directive 5, which requires a thorough human review of any AI recommendation before you apply it. You are the safety check.
You cannot outsource your professional license.
Now there.
And that leads us straight to competence in practice. The question being, do I have the knowledge and skill to use this AI tool appropriately?
And competence in the age of AI, it's not just knowing how to press the on button.
No.
It requires a really honest self-assessment of the tool's limitations. If you use a tool without understanding its boundaries, what it can do, and more importantly, what it cannot do accurately, the material frames this as an ethical failure, not a user error. An ethical one.
Which means a foundational knowledge of AI is no longer optional. The NBCC emphasizes this with Directive 1, and the ACA Code of Ethics, CGOT 2.A, requires practicing within your boundaries of competence. Competence today means being tech literate enough to spot an AI's blind spot.
Precisely. And if you have competence and you accept that responsibility, then you have to act with responsiveness in practice.
Okay, and that question is,
am I adapting my approach based on this specific client's needs and context? This is all about flexibility. You have to constantly evaluate, is this tech serving the relationship, or are we kind of asking the client to adapt their own vulnerability to the needs of the machine?
wow. The moment the client is bending their process for the tech, you've already failed the responsiveness test.
You have. You have to be prepared to modify or even just completely abandon the AI if it's not working for that one individual.
And that brings us to the last one, which sort of holds it all together. Trust in practice. The question, does AI use strengthen or weaken trust in the therapeutic relationship?
The big one.
It is. Because trust, it relies on safety, on confidentiality. If a client doesn't really get how their words are being processed and stored and analyzed, that ambiguity just erodes the foundation of the relationship.
And that failure of safety is a direct violation of the foundational ACA standard on the welfare of clients, A1. It's why NBCC Directive 32 mandates clear disclosure of AI use.
So these 5 principles, they're not a checklist.
Not at all. They are the gears of ethical reasoning, and now we get to see Maya Rodriguez put them into action.
Let's jump into the narrative. So, decision point 1, initial AI adoption. The agency introduces TherapyScribe. They're promising massive gains in efficiency. Maya's told she'll cut her note-taking time in half.
And the conflict is immediate.
Efficiency versus the complete uncertainty of this new tech.
This is a test of attentiveness and competence right out of the gate. The pressure to just go along with it is huge. Maya's first job is to pause and ask, what do I not know here? How does this thing handle linguistic complexity? Is it just a recorder or is it making clinical judgments?
She has to assess her own competence before it ever enters a session with Jordan.
Exactly.
She decides to proceed, but then we get to decision point 2, transparency and disclosure. Jordan, the client, notices the little device and just asks, what's that for?
And Maya has that sinking feeling.
She does. She realizes that she only mentioned routine documentation. She completely failed to get informed consent for the AI analysis and editing of their private talks.
That is a critical failure of trust and responsiveness, and the source material highlights this crucial distinction. Just mentioning a recording is not the same as getting informed consent for an AI analysis that generates clinical data points.
Data points that will go to supervisors, maybe even insurance.
Right. NBCC Directive 34 is blunt about this. You have to get informed consent specifically about the use and limitations of AI.
So she had the technical disclosure, but she missed the whole informed consent on the process.
Exactly. Informed consent requires understanding the ramifications.
Okay. This sets the stage for what is, I think, the most complex dilemma in the whole case study. Decision point 3, professional autonomy and supervision conflict.
This is where it gets really thorny.
Maya's reviewing TherapyScribe summaries of her sessions with Jordan. Now, Jordan is bilingual and often code switches, shifting naturally between English and Spanish.
And this is where competence, responsibility, and cultural understanding have a violent collision. Maya sees that TherapyScribe is consistently mislabeling Jordan's code switching.
Mislabeling it as what?
As disorganized speech or tangential communication. The AI is pathologizing a totally normal, culturally normative communication pattern.
That's terrifying. It's not just an error. It's actively creating a biased, potentially harmful client record.
And the training materials back her up on this. They cite specific research showing this is a known technical problem. AI models trained on monolingual data sets, they fail spectacularly with spontaneous code switching. They have linguistic bias.
So Maya, using her clinical and cultural competence, she challenges this. But here's the conflict. She takes it to her supervisor.
And the supervisor dismisses her, just dismisses the concern, saying the AI is objective because it was trained on thousands of cases.
So what are the professional stakes for Maya here? She's a licensed associate. Her supervisor holds immense power over her career.
Her supervisor can make or break her career at this stage. She's being told by a superior to ignore her own clinical judgment, her own cultural competence, in favor of a flawed machine.
The stakes are everything.
Everything. This is where a concept from the material privileged irresponsibility becomes chillingly relevant. The supervisor, who gets the benefit of the AI's efficiency, but is insulated from the harm of misdiagnosing Jordan, can just casually dismiss Maya's objection.
But Maya bears the full responsibility.
A full responsibility for the client's record, for their welfare. So challenging the supervisor means challenging the whole organizational hierarchy. It takes immense courage.
So the real conflict isn't Maya versus the AI. It's Maya's responsibility to her client versus the pressure of her institution and her supervisor.
And if she gives into that pressure, she's failing her competence and responsibility mandates. She's letting a biased tool potentially stigmatize her client, maybe for years to come, in the official record.
That deep conflict leads us right to the final convergence. Decision point 4, client agency.
The client takes control.
Yes. Jordan has read about AI bias in the news, comes into the session armed with information, and asks Maya directly.
Asks her what?
Asks, does the computer understand me when I switch languages? I feel like maybe it doesn't get me the way you do. And then asks for the AI documentation to stop.
And this is the moment. This is where all 5 principles have to be demonstrated at once.
Right. So Maya has to show attentiveness.
By validating Jordan's concern, responsibility by prioritizing Jordan's welfare over the agency's efficiency rules,
Competence by accurately explaining the AI's limitations.
and responsiveness by immediately changing the modality, no questions asked.
And all of that serves the final principle, trust, by honoring Jordan's agency.
Absolutely. And the professional standards are completely aligned here. NBCC Directive 17 mandates providing alternatives if the client declines AI. The ACA code says clients have the right to refuse services or modality changes.
So Maya has to not only accept the refusal, but make sure Jordan has a real choice to continue therapy without the tech.
A genuinely meaningful choice.
Let's synthesize this. We've seen these principles move from, abstract definitions to these incredibly high-stakes decisions. What's the fundamental takeaway here?
I think the main synthesis is this. Care ethics is the method of application. It doesn't replace the ACA or NBCC codes. It shows you how to apply those standards when AI throws you a curveball. The framework gives you a robust way to reason, not a simple checklist.
And what are the core understandings that, a practitioner has to carry forward from this?
A few things are critical. First, counselor competence now explicitly includes the ability to spot AI limitations. Your cultural competence and your AI competence are completely intertwined. You can't separate them.
Okay.
Second, responsibility for client care never ever leaves the human counselor. I don't care what the system recommends. Third, the case study shows that supervision can become a source of pressure to adopt tech uncritically. You have to be ready to advocate for your clients in those settings.
And finally, client agency requires a real choice.
A real choice. Informed consent for AI has to include genuine, transparent alternatives. These scenarios Maya faced are not hypothetical. They are happening in practices right now.
It just makes these incredibly abstract principles feel so immediate, so necessary. Seeing Maya navigate decision point 3 is it's night and day compared to just reading a code of ethics.
It is. So let me leave you with a final provocative thought building on what we've just discussed.
Please.
Given the critical real-world implications of recognizing AI's limits, especially where cultural understanding like code switching and technological understanding intersect, what specific targeted training do you need right now to ensure your practice meets that high bar of competence demanded by the ACA code? Because the responsibility to close that knowledge gap is immediate.
That is the necessary work for every counselor and educator today. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.